We are very glad to have you at this kickoff event for our upcoming course, Fundamentals of Community Scale Hydro Mini-Grids. I'm just trying to change my slide. Here we go. Yeah, so today the program for you includes a brief overview of who we are and what is the larger program that the training is embedded within, called the SEED Accelerator. We will also be fortunate to hear from partners of the program who make this work possible, as well as meet the instructors. And then we will give you a walkthrough of the e-learning platform and finally answer any questions you have. So firstly, we want to welcome you. We have participants from the course from over 43 countries, about 43 countries. And normally we would be in a very beautiful location at a microhydro project. Field visits have been part of our training programs, but over the last year and a half, we have not done in-person gatherings, but the advantage is that we can access so many more people. So to give you an idea, we have over 200 participants in this course, and yeah, there is a nice mix of local, national, and international participants, as well as multi-actors, and I'm glad to see there are also a good number of women who have joined. I would like to ask you, just so we get an idea of who is attending this session, if you could find the Zoom chat box and just share with us, just type in your country and which stakeholder group you represent: academia, civil society, funding agency, government actor, NGO, entrepreneur, or supplier. That will give everyone a chance to see the breakup attending in this session. And we are recording this event so that all the participants who could not join can review the course as well, can review the event. Okay. My screen is just slow to change. Here we go. Yeah, so what does the network do? The Hydro Empowerment Network is a knowledge exchange and advocacy platform. And we do this through different methods. Firstly, as I mentioned, similar to the training participants, our network is multi-stakeholder. So we focus on the very local practitioner, but in order to enable local practitioners, we engage with the ecosystem of various stakeholders. And we started in South and Southeast Asia, but have expanded to Sub-Saharan Africa, and also we engage with practitioners in Latin America. And we focus on three overarching thematic areas: technical skills building, socio and environmental aspects, and finance and policy. And what do we see as a community scale hydro system? Many of you are probably familiar with some of the technical aspects. We also look at it in terms of the socio-environmental aspects. So for us, the system starts with the watershed that makes the water source possible. And then, of course, there is the technical components, everything from civil works to electromechanical. Then we also have a strong focus on the end use, community and household end use, as well as interconnecting to the grid or to another project. And since the start of the network, we have been fortunate to have connected with various local practitioners, as well as international actors who were once local practitioners. Many of them are our board members, and we've learned what has worked and what hasn't worked in various regions. And so our goal in recent years has been to optimize the benefits. As you will learn in the training course in the early weeks, there are certain inherent characteristics about small-scale hydropower, including that it generates electricity 24/7. It is the lowest cost in terms of other, when comparing to other decentralized renewables, largely because it also allows local manufacturing. It doesn't need batteries. And there is an inherent environmental aspect with the watersheds. So what does all of this in the end result in is increased, it gives opportunity for increased economic resilience in rural areas, as well as climate resilience. So this training is the first of 3 that will cover nearly all of these aspects. So what is the SEED Accelerator? It starts with the premise of sustainability. Although small-scale hydropower has been implemented for at least 4 decades, and thousands of projects have been implemented, there is a good fraction of them that often are not sustainable over the long term. And through our hindsight analysis and engaging with practitioners, we have realized there's these certain factors for sustainability. And we've seen that the projects that don't do as well, the community only sees it as a social asset and it isn't run optimally. For example, even if the system generates 24/7 electricity, it's only run during the evening hours. There isn't tariff collection. And so when there's maintenance or operators need to be paid, the whole management is not strong, and it doesn't lead to the benefits that were envisioned. However, we've seen in various countries examples, excellent examples of projects that are run as an enterprise. So the mini grid, the hydro project, is seen as a community-owned enterprise, or different factions of the community own it. And the community, the households and people who use it are, some of them are also doing various enterprise, whether home-based or actual separate facilities that are enterprise. And you will learn more about this in the course as we go along. But the idea is that we can bring both energy access and economic development when we see the system as not just a social asset, but an enterprise that is locally managed. And so this is where SEED comes in, social enterprise for energy, ecological, and economic development. SEED, actually, I'm going to stop just a moment. My colleague Lara, I have a message that says 13 people have entered the room, but yeah, I will let you.
Thanks, Dipti. Yeah.
Yeah. So SEED focuses on the long-term sustainability of the project, as well as the optimal impact. And then finally, we want to see benefits beyond kilowatts. And we have examples that we will show you during the course where communities, the project leads to other social impact. There are 4 themes that make projects into SEED quality, or have the envisioned outputs that I just mentioned. And the very first one starts with the watershed. I wanted to show you a few images from our practitioner from our member in India. You can see that increasingly watersheds are encroached upon, but there are actual ways to recharge the water source and the landscape. And the benefits are not just for community hydro, but also other uses of water. Once we have that in place, another foundational element to focus on is the technology and really instilling local capacities. So we see that when projects use local technology, have local integrators, people who can troubleshoot, work with communities, help them understand technical aspects, projects live much longer. And so this is a foundational element. And then once we have those things in place, consistent water source, a good base of technical expertise locally, we can start to look at other aspects, such as what are the productive end use and what kind of enterprise models to incorporate. So this is an example of a project in Myanmar. It's 80 kilowatts, but it has various enterprise. It's a cooperative owned project, and you will learn more about this in the course. What are the different types of enterprise models and productive end uses that are possible? Yeah, and so then I mentioned empowerment beyond kilowatts, and that's where we really mean social change, more inclusion, how the community reaches its aspiration beyond kilowatts. And an example of this is the Aga Khan Rural Support Program's work in Pakistan, where it's a women-centric approach where women are the shareholders of these, they're actually mini hydro systems, so thousands of households on one system, and there's extensive productive end use. So these are the seed themes, and then there's some other aspects that relate to this. There's things about finance. I won't go into detail here, but there are different types of finance, and they impact whether the project becomes a social asset only, or can it more easily go into enterprise model. There are various factors for finance, and there's also planning that happens. So yeah, a very good example is in Nepal, where local municipalities now have decision-making authority, and how donors and national government are working with them to really bring their capacities on, to build their capacities on the different solutions involved, including small-scale hydro. So yeah, in short, there are various benefits to the sector, including job and skills creation, the watershed restoration, and change that really impacts more than just providing electricity. And this is the reason we established SEED, to help different practitioners who have some of the strengths in place, but maybe not all of them, to help them achieve all of the elements. And we call this this vehicle to advance local practitioners, the SEED Accelerator. And one of the first parts to it is to really assess the best practices. And we've done that through activities within HPNET before SEED came along, but also increasingly understanding what has worked in different areas after we identified the SEED elements. And then we have also, I'm sorry, we've also started to ground truth, yeah, what is missing and who is involved. And so we can start to develop exchanges, and the exchange has different components. The first one that is open to basically the public is an e-learning initiative, and that's what this course is a part of. And then we also have cohorts of practitioners, whether they are regional or stakeholder specific, and we are also offering customized training. So if someone needs more technical, if someone is already manufacturing but isn't manufacturing a certain type of turbine, or if a community is ready to move into an enterprise model, So these are the different type of capacity building exchanges that we are that we have as a part of the accelerator. And finally, we continue to strategize and find ways to advocate for the local practitioners. Yeah, so now we will go into our next section, which is a very special section because we have our partners that have worked with us for a number of years, who have helped to inspire the initiative. We will hear from them. They include the WISIONS initiative at the Wuppertal Institute for Climate, Environment and Energy. WISIONS actually helped to establish the network, and WISIONS had a program where they supported exchange and projects, and you'll hear more, but yeah, they are very experienced in community energy systems. Then we have the Skat Foundation, the roots of technology transfer for community scale hydropower in the Asia Pacific has been, at the very start, was through the Skat Foundation, the initial trainings in Nepal, and they continue to play a big role in the sector. Then we also have DGRV. It's the German Cooperative Association. I might have the technical term wrong, but DGRV promotes cooperatives, not just for energy access, but various activities in the Global South. And then we have GIZ that has helped us with a number of the modules. GIZ, its predecessor, GTZ, was also very strongly involved in technology transfer at the start. So we have, let me check with Lara if our first speaker is there. And then I can proceed to introduce her.
Yes, Bertha is here.
Okay. And is there, yeah, so I will introduce Bertha. Bertha is the managing director of Skat Foundation and the senior knowledge management specialist. She has over 2 decades of experience working in knowledge networks and development organizations. She has helped to write one of the resources we heavily used at the start of the network in how to establish strong networks. She's helped to facilitate a number of our events, and which led to our board forming, and this the partners that I just shared are supporting various aspects of the training, and this final aspect of really bringing it all together into a 6-week program is made possible by the Skat Foundation. So I will mute myself and allow Bertha to share. Basically, we would very much appreciate hearing from each of our speakers in this panel what they see as the role of community hydro and knowledge networks, and anything else to inspire our participants.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Deepti, for this invitation. I'm really happy to be here and to see how many people have registered and how many people are taking part of the meeting today. I'm very pleased. As Deepti said, we have been working with HPNET already for some years, supporting networking and the network, the development of the network. Briefly, I'm going to just share a little bit about Skat Foundation, and then I'm just going to address other questions that Deepti said. So I'm just going to share my screen. If I can do this, I think I do. Let me see. Everybody see? Yes? Okay, I'm going to just make this as a presentation. Okay, so Skat Foundation, who we are a nonprofit organization based in Switzerland. And we were established in 2002. And we consider ourselves independent and neutral. And we focus on international cooperation with an emphasis and a specialization in knowledge management. Since 2019, Skat Foundation is a certified NGO, which is the SEBO certification, which is certification here in Switzerland for nonprofit organizations, which give the foundation the confirmation that we work in a transparent way, efficient, effective, and also in the framework of a good governance. So what is our vision? We envision a world where individuals and organizations learn and act in collaborative ways to eradicate poverty and to contribute to the development of sustainable, diverse, and inclusive societies. And who we are, we consider ourselves facilitators of change. We enable our partners and target groups to learn from each other and to find solutions to the challenges triggered by poverty and climate change. This is very important for us, and that's why our focus on knowledge management is very strong. How do we work? We work in collaborative partnerships and networks. Because we are facilitators of change, we really want to provide them the tools and the capacities and support in developing these capacities and of the people, that they themselves find solutions to their challenges. And we provide and facilitate these learning processes. We work in different parts of the world in three thematic areas. One of them is renewable energy, which you see here. The other one is water, where we have a long-standing experience in water, both WASH and integrated water resource management, and also solid waste management. And we see the integration of these three and the collaboration of these three areas to come together to enable, to reduce poverty and to make contribution to sustainability and to more sustainable climate policies and practices. And as you see, Skat Foundation works in selected countries. Our projects are small, but we also have global projects, and those are the work we're doing with the networks. So one of the networks is the Rural Water Supply Network, and another network that we've been supporting is HPNET, and this training is part of this support. Our approach is basically learning at the center and networking at the core of our activities, where we do knowledge creation, we do piloting of technologies, fit for purpose technologies that we hope could be upscaled if they prove to be context friendly and also to respond to the needs of the local populations we're working with. We also focus on knowledge sharing and capacity strengthening, and in the documentation and publication of knowledge products. That's our approach. That's where we see knowledge management at work. And this approach we apply in our three areas, in our three thematic areas, and with all our projects and partners. So if you see, I mean, we are part of an alliance in Switzerland, the Sustainable Food System and Empowered Communities Alliance, where together with 6 other organizations, we received a co-funding from the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, the program contribution. And this co-funding has allowed us to support this training. And because we contribute as alliance to food systems, we certainly see the big link between micro hydro and the hydro communities, but also energy, renewable energy, different forms of renewable energy as a contribution also to the food systems in the world. And that's where we want to continue supporting. And as you see, however, we have partnerships with other networks, but also with universities and with international agencies like the World Bank and GIZ and UNICEF. So we are working also globally with different partners. So that's from me very quickly, as Dipti asked me. And I'm just gonna stop sharing for the moment. Very quickly, what is, we see a great potential in this community. And that's why we are working together with HPNET in this training. As mentioned before, we are aiming to contribute to food systems, to the sustainability of food systems, but at the same time to a more climate-friendly approaches. And that's where I see the strength of this community. The network HPNET has proved to evolve, to have committed people, people who want to learn and share with each other, who want to do advocacy also for hydropower, micro hydropower. And this is the process we want to support because we see this great potential. And I'm really excited to see that there is also the interest in learning and sharing with each other. So with this, I hope, Dipti, I have answered some of the questions you have posed. But from my side, I welcome everybody and I wish you a lot of learnings and a lot of exchange in this training. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bertha. It's excellent to hear how the Skat Foundation supports various sectors, and we're very fortunate to have your support. Our next speaker is Dr. Willington Ortiz from the WISIONS initiative at the Wuppertal Institute. Dr. Ortiz is a researcher for the future energy and industry systems at the Institute. His focus areas include the role of CSOs and the spaces that they function from, the processes for renewable energy innovation, focusing specifically on the Global South, the energy transitions in Latin American countries, and tools for transformative approaches in interdisciplinary aspects of research. He holds a PhD and also has a mechanical engineering background. And Willington has been working very closely with the network over almost the last year and a half or 2 years, and even before, but really helping us streamline our advocacy message and thinking about our impact. So it would be great for Willington also if you could please share more about the WISIONS initiative and also how you see community hydro play a role in the larger development activities.
Thank you, Dipti. Yeah, thank you for the invitation. And I'm very glad to have the opportunity to share some ideas from my perspective very quickly. So WISIONS is an initiative of the Wuppertal Institute for Climate, Environment and Energy. This is a research institute that is based in Germany with the main aim of understanding how to bring sustainability into real life. So it's not describing what is sustainable, but how to make it. And in this initiative, WISIONS, the main aim is to catalyze systemic change for strengthening the livelihoods of rural population, particularly in the Global South. The initiative started in 2004, and since then we have supported demonstration of innovative models for meeting the energy needs of population in several countries. And I would like to highlight like two main learned lessons. It's very synthesized. So one is that delivering energy solutions alone does not necessarily translate into sustainable changes. So in order to really strengthen the livelihoods of populations, the linkages between energy and other, let me say, other context-specific development opportunities of the people need to be explicitly explored and harnessed by energy interventions. So this means energy interventions should integrate actions that support the population in drawing the most benefits out of energy. Or even better, energy interventions can be integrated as supportive strategies for more broader programs, tackling context-specific opportunities like improvement of agricultural practices or economic development, of the improvement of education opportunities, the recovery of forestry or watershed protection. So this is what we call holistic approaches to energy. So the linkages has to be explicit in the interventions. The second one is that at the end, sustainable energy access is about achieving changes in the life of people. Therefore, it's not only meaningful, but also ethically responsibility to involve those peoples as crucial actors for the energy transformation, because it's about changing their lives. So I don't want to be changed my life by others. So I want to be part of that change and make decisions about it. So local people are the experts about their lives, and thus the importance of people-centered approach to energy access. And as we have learned from Deepti's introduction, community-scale hydro mini-grids are approaches to energy that are particularly appropriate for addressing this energy challenge in a holistic way and people-centered fashion. So as she already commented, so I don't need to repeat all these linkages to environmental protection, to economic development, etc. Let me just add, from my perspective, a couple of observations about why multiplying efforts for strengthening rural livelihoods is extremely crucial now, today. You know, ruralities, rural lives are synonymous of poverty, underdevelopment, lack of opportunities. And this is true all around the world, and in particular in rural contexts of the global South. I know, and you know, this is not a new issue. In fact, the dynamics of rural migration towards urban regions is not new. But this is a dynamic that it seems that is accelerating strongly in this century. By now, more or less 50% of world population still try to make their living in rural contexts. But the figures are declining, as you know. So I would like to argue that one of the most central challenges of our century is to build or reshape our societies and our economies in a way that allow people to build prosperous and fulfilling lives in rural contexts, in the ruralities, and particularly for young people. And this is particularly, I would like to rephrase somehow some of the inspiring sentences of the preamble to the Agenda 2030. It says one of the goal is to ensure that all human beings, and I will put and particularly young people in rural context, to fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. And that's why these kinds of solutions, this kind of community scale hydro mini-grids are so crucial. And we in WISIONS are, as Deepti mentioned very quickly, we are trying to foster and bring ideas on how to make that more visible out there for at all levels, at the political level, to bring more support on all these trainings, but also investing in better in this kind of approaches, and also for this kind of trainings for practitioners, etc. So there is a lot of challenges all around the levels. So I'm very happy to have contributed to the HPNET and this fabulous initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Willington, for that very inspiring perspective on what can be the potential impact of our work and what are the values that we can keep in mind as we keep moving on different aspects, including capacity building, but also implementation of projects. I would like to welcome our next speaker. I think not shared. Thanks for your patience. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so our colleague from DGRV, the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation, is Marc-André Zach. Marc, yeah, this is just a very nice connection from speaker to speaker, but Marc sees access to markets as for sustainable economic and social development. He has over a decade of experience in the sector, including supporting smallholder farmers to access financial services to improve their income and deeper value chain integration. He's advised government counterparts as well as local communities, where I engaged with him in Myanmar, which was quite a difficult context. He developed a local team of multidisciplinary aspects. And recently, he is now also overseeing DGRB's work in the Philippines. So, Marc, it would be great to know from you a little bit, what is DGRB and also how you see the sector integrating with DGRB's main mission and also your perspectives.
Thank you very much for the flattering words, and also thank you for my predecessors in the panel for the interesting inputs. Yeah, some of these inputs are reflected in what I'm planning to say now. So it's interesting how these things connect. But first of all, what is DGRV? DGRV is the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation. It's practically the national confederation for cooperatives in Germany. I will not go into detail what our services and our activities are in Germany, but besides our main activities in Germany, we also implement development projects, mainly on behalf of the German government, the German Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, in more than 30 countries. We focus our work on promoting cooperatives as member-based organizations which promote the economic livelihoods of their members. In most countries, we work together with associations or federations of cooperatives, with government counterparts to develop or to develop services for cooperatives and to develop national framework conditions for cooperatives. So how did we get involved with this project in 2018? Dipti invited me actually to a trip in Myanmar to look at mini hydropower projects. And I was very impressed on what I saw. We saw several projects, and most of them have, or all of them have been developed with a significant input from the communities. The developers and the communities have been working together, and the communities have shown a very very deep dedication to develop their own projects. Some of these projects have even been built with exclusively community resources without external funding. And it was just very nice to see how much engagement the community have shown, especially coming from a developmental context where you see a lot of projects where this engagement of people of the communities is often not that strong. So we saw this, and we discussed, and then we have worked together in a few activities. We developed a study together with the Wuppertal Institute, and now we're very happy that we have been able to contribute to these online modules. Looking at these energy projects what we saw in Myanmar, they really reflect, they were not, two of them were registered as cooperatives, but most of them were not registered as any enterprise, but they really reflected the cooperative principles which we are trying to promote in the different countries, of self-help, self-administration, responsibility for one's own resources. And this was just very impressive to see. What do I very often I think I see projects which many projects, they have a limited dimension very often. There are projects which promote energy in communities. There are projects which promote livelihoods of communities. And I think these mini grids that we saw in Myanmar, they have shown how important it is to bring the different aspects together, as Dr. Ortiz also said, people-centered approach, where you include the technical aspects of building an energy structure, for example, and also to build the capacities of the communities to manage these assets, these resources which they have in their respective community. And I think it's really important to bring together these aspects for sustainably supporting communities in developing their capacities. Knowledge exchange networks such as HPNET can be very valuable for this kind of work. They can bring together the different stakeholders, development agencies, developers, communities, funding partners, to share knowledge, to build an understanding of more holistic project approaches, and also to promote the knowledge sharing between the different countries. And I believe this is a very important contribution, and that's also the reason why I'm so happy that we can be part of this whole project. Yeah, that's all I want to say for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat box.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. You make a good reminder to those field visits. They did inspire the foundational elements of SEED, and it was actually our board also visiting some of those projects in Myanmar that led to we should really support communities to transition into where their projects are running much longer and have more impact. And we really appreciate DGRV's expertise to develop the module on social enterprise models, and that while there is a lot of hydropower material online, I feel that our course is unique in that it brings together the multi-thematic aspects of community hydro, including technology, but also aspects such as social enterprise. So our next speaker is Ashish Dhankar from GIZ. Ashish is an electrical engineer with a decade and a half of experience in the energy sector across various renewables and grid planning. He's worked in various leadership positions in the industry, including for government and private sector. I first knew Ashish when he was spending lots of time on the ground in very remote areas of Myanmar, working to support communities on solar PV projects. And with his role at GIZ Myanmar, a couple of years, actually last year, Ashish, actually the development partners in Myanmar became more interested in community scale hydro, and due to the pandemic suggested, why don't you create online material to help various stakeholders come up to speed on the different aspects of sustainability. So yeah, with that, I would like to hand it over to Ashish to share more about GIZ's perspective and what its energy program is currently doing.
Thank you, Dipti, for those kind words. And I feel kind of out of place among all these senior figures on the panel. I hope I will be able to somehow fill those big shoes. I by no means would be able to share the different aspects of GIZ activities in the energy space as such. I'll just give a broad picture as such what GIZ is, and also try to just briefly touch upon the big impacts that GIZ kind of assessed back in 2020. Just focusing on an energy sector as such, and then I will kind of move into what we were doing in Myanmar as part of the bilateral project with the Myanmar government. And finally, I would kind of give way so that the program can start, hopefully, or move on. Yeah. That's the brief outline. So as I said, GIZ is a German development cooperation agency, which is working on behalf of German government, but also sometimes other donors. In case of Myanmar, we not just had the German government as a donor, but also the New Zealand government, which was co-financing the project there. GIZ has existed for over 50 years in different forms and different names. And as of 2020, this is the data that I was referring to. It was active in 120 countries and had over 23,000 employees. The revenue volume for GIZ was somewhere around 3.3 billion, and there are a lot of energy projects or energy activities where GIZ is involved. To put some of the impacts from GIZ perspective in focus, if you look at the screen that I'm sharing, I'm not going to give out the numbers, but the figure that 3.4 million people have potentially benefited from GIZ support itself kind of says that this is one of the core areas where GIZ is focused at. And moving on, all of that in terms of renewable energy, but also energy efficiency and different activities in the energy sector are also responsible for a reduction in the CO2 and by the volume of 17 million tons. GIZ has a lot of programs in the energy sector. A lot of them are bilateral, which means like the program that Dipti was referring to, where the German government was cooperating with the government of Myanmar, but there are also global ones like NDEF, which you might have heard of. Then you have Get Invest, and there are a lot more on which are kind of coming up recently. In hydrogen diplomacy or Power to X is the new buzzword in the energy industry. So GIZ is also there. I encourage you to visit the website and explore. You can basically search for different sectors as well as geographically to get a more in-depth understanding of what different programs are running. Moving on, I've been just to give a brief outline of the program that I was part of until last year was the RELIC program, as we called it in short form. It was a bilateral program. Some of the numbers that kind of reflect what we did in Myanmar was we were involved in the regulations, so we did come up with the regulatory mechanisms. Obviously, we were into developing mini grids, so that's why you see over 100 mini grids being, as I know now, almost all of them are operational. About 130,000 people benefited from them, and about 11.5 million US dollars were invested by the local companies into these projects, and all the other trainings and CO2 mitigation impact. The reason why we are here and discussing the community role of community as such, the other panelists have shed some light on it, but more on the real ground aspect. What we realized was that all the projects that we were developing, even though the private sector was involved, the private sector had limited access, especially with the COVID situation kicking in, and in general also, a private company cannot have an engineer sitting at each mini grid. It's just too expensive for them to maintain. And that's why the role of community comes into the center stage, and to kind of ensure the sustainability of those systems. It's just a no-brainer, if I could use that word, that you want to find more important role of the community into the whole overall system or spectrum as such. And we were also trying to understand most of these projects, actually except 2 of these projects, all the projects were solar. And I mean, there are reasons why they were solar, but at the same time, we were also feeling that lack of hydro into these mix of mini grids. That was another reason why we wanted to try to understand and tap into this existing knowledge that Mark and Dipti talked about. I mean, Myanmar had a huge number of mini grids, hydro mini grids, which were operated and developed by communities. And we were, trying to figure out what can we do to somehow, not just to bring it out to the world out there, but also to, somehow put it in a format that other projects and other programs and other people or the practitioners in the sector could benefit from. And we were lucky that HPNET and Seed and other partners were open to the same thought process, and we could tap into that immense amount of knowledge, and hopefully this whole set of series or the trainings would be beneficial for the community as a whole. I would kind of put a pin there. I wish you all the best for the training as such, and I hope that they are beneficial to everyone who is going to attend them. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashish, for that wonderful overview of GIZ's work and how, your role in evolving to include community hydro. And thank you for kickstarting our online e-learning process. So I would like to thank all of the speakers in this panel for taking time to join today and inspire our participants for the course. And we look forward to keeping you posted on how the training goes. Thank you. So we will move into our next panel, which will be moderated by my wonderful colleague, Lara Powell. where you will get to meet the instructors. So I will hand it over to Lara now.
Okay, hello. I'll just take a moment to share my screen. Yeah, so as you likely know, there are 6 modules in the training. They're largely technical in focus, but the training also emphasizes other climate resilience and socioeconomic benefits. So we will hear more about the content from the instructors in a moment. But I'd just like to highlight that the training will take place over 6 weeks, and each Monday, a new module will become available on the e-learning platform. So at the moment, you'll see just module A on the platform, and we will progress in the order that you see here. So yeah, so it's my pleasure to introduce our instructors, and we'll hear from them about the modules that they've developed for the training, as well as some insight into their journey and interest in community scale hydro. So first, I'd like to introduce Mr. Gerhard Fischer, who is our instructor for Module E, which focuses on terrain assessment and basics of design, and Module F, which focuses on power output and an introduction to turbines. So, So Mr. Fischer has more than 35 years of professional experience in the hydropower sector, with working experience in 27 countries. His specialty is technology transfer, concentrating on turbine design and manufacturing. And from 2005 until March 2013, he was director of HPNET Indonesia, a consulting and engineering company focused on microhydro in Bandung, Indonesia. Subsequently, he was an advisor for HYCOM in Bandung. And since March 2016, he has been a freelance consultant and director of HPNET. And with that, I will pass it over to you, Mr. Fischer.
Yeah, so I think I'm on. Yeah, welcome everybody in this late evening, early morning for deep tea session. Yeah, I think it's about a journey somehow. Yeah, maybe you said 35 years. It's not really true. It's already 41 years. I started going in hydropower, and now I have reached pension age and have done quite a cycle of things. Yeah. So it started again as a student. I was in Zambia and installed a small hydropower turbine, 6-8 kilowatt, a cross flow turbine, and that gave me the kick to understand that there are quite some problems in this world for engineers as well to be solved. And these villages and out there, the poor people also need a lot of energy to develop. And so it's a long way to go. And I think one important thing in this sector of hydropower is also that we have to be project oriented, that we have to do project practically experience and implement them, learn from the mistakes and improve our know-how step by step. And this consequently, of course, I'm since about 20 years involved in Indonesia, coming from Nepal and Switzerland and I don't know where else. And we also established here a small industry and producing some turbines, controllers, all the technology which is somehow needed to design turbines, to design power plants, starting from field assessment up to village implementation of some organizations to run a power plant. Operator training, everything is somehow within this scheme. 10 years ago, we had the pleasure to build up a hydropower center in Bandung using the equipment from Switzerland, a Swiss university, who stopped operating, and we could get this equipment to Indonesia and build it up in Bandung with vocational training center for vocational school teachers. And this is quite a nice center to learn, and it has been topped up with other renewable energies now. There is wind energy, biomass, photovoltaic, and all this is for the vocational school level, and also, of course, polytechnics and so on, to have an insight on this technology from the practical side. It's always the question whether hydropower is still a good technology. I think it is. 40 years ago, it was much more unique than now, because photovoltaic and others are somehow developing very cheap products and so on. So we have to rethink. But in this context, I think the hydropower has the problem or the challenge to be in nature. So it's not just independent from the nature. So we have certain rivers connected to villages, and that is quite a challenge. We cannot just decide where to put it, and so the feasibility study, the implementation and so on is a very challenging and interesting thing. I never went to the big power plants, megawatts or something. Maybe our activities may be up to maximum 1 megawatt, more normally below 200. And that needs some kind of a universal know-how. It's not only to be a specialist for a turbine. You have to be a specialist for quite a number of things to implement a small hydropower sets successfully. And that makes it also very interesting and challenging for an engineer to look up not only on his own plate, but to look also the let me say, the different subjects to understand also and work together with others. And I think the knowledge sharing in hydropower, of course, with this complex setup of villages to technology details, I think this HPNET is quite a good institution or somehow set up to somehow link the people and the know-how, and not to start always again from new. So there is a certain know-how, and the mistakes should be made in projects, but not always the same mistakes, and wasting the time of people by maybe trying not really working things out. I'm looking forward to be part of this training, and yeah, I think just one maybe some kind of a challenge, as I'm now 40 years busy with this subject. So my father told me, or even in Switzerland is somehow on a way, if you don't have a target, you are getting tired after the first steps. So if you have the target to get involved in hydropower, it's a long way, but it's worthwhile, and it's a nice walk. I think that's from my side in the moment all, and I think the modules will come for more technical details. Possibly, I don't know whether it's still possible to share the screen here. Can I try it?
Yes, yeah, you should be able to.
Possibly to this one. Yeah, this was me 40 years ago in Zambia. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe it's even running. So I was there building my first cross-flow turbine together with the people. Okay. And okay, there is the screen here. And now I am still. Can you switch off the screen sharing?
Yes, I will switch
Actually,
to mine.
I don't find mine. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So just to inspire the people, it's worthwhile to do these projects.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. Okay, so next I'd like to introduce Dr. Hedy Fiebel, who's the instructor for our water resource assessment module. So Dr. Fiebel is a renewable energy and water expert at the Swiss Resource Center and Consultancies for Development, Skat. She has worked for 25 years on assignments in Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and Europe, with a strong focus on mini and small hydropower. She holds a PhD in civil engineering and political economy from Darmstadt University of Technology, and an MSc in geography and hydrology from the University of Friedberg. And Dr. Fiebel could not join the session today, but she asked us to share this message. She says, "Dear participants, I hope the hydrology sections give you a good overview and also more in-depth information on some topics. Please feel free to collect your questions and comments for the exchange session at the end of the week. This will also help me to improve the presentations and to get a better feeling on where to go more into detail. Good luck." Okay. And so next we have Mr. Jorge Nieto Jimenez, who's the instructor for the demand assessment module. So Mr. Jimenez is a program associate at Energy Action Partners. He has a master's degree in environmental science from Yale University, where he conducted a research project on energy transitions in Myanmar. And he has a BA in international relations from El Colegio de Mexico. Prior to his current role, Mr. Jimenez worked as an advisor at CONACYT, the Mexican Federal Science and Technology Agency, and was a teaching fellow at Yale. So I will pass it over to Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Lara. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good night to all the participants. For me, it's such a pleasure to be here, such an honor to be considered among titans in the industry. Right? It's a great place to be in HPNET, because coming from political science perspective, it is sometimes hard to find a place in a world that has such a strong presence from engineers and consultants. But I think that there are many things in which all of us can contribute our grain of sand to this huge project that is, I mean, not only small hydropower, but energy access in general and development. Thank you so much for that opportunity. And just a few words about how I came to the space and what is the work that we're currently doing at Energy Action Partners. And coming from, as I mentioned, political science perspective and anthropology, you first start with the question of why people organize or why they don't organize when it's best for the interest, right? And it's a very big question in hydro. And when you see this project that seemed to defy all odds and to swim against the current of facing so many problems and so many challenges, and they still persevere on their efforts and manage to bring such a complex system of technologies to very remote parts of the world, right? It's a very inspiring work. It's a very inspiring phenomenon and all of the people involved are responsible in a way of not only being motivated, but also being organized and bringing that organization to the places they work in and establishing institutions, creating institutions that outlast their time there. And that is the question as in political sciences of how I got into small hydropower, right? How can you construct communities that work together to achieve a goal that is usually left to a government that you don't know, and you just wait for electricity to come, right? And you take ownership, you take responsibility. And that's a big question, and that's something that doesn't happen just because I've seen that in this journey that many people think of people as demand, right, as a point in a graph, but there is so much more than that. Behind every meter, behind every data point, there is a real person that has hopes, has aspirations, has problems, and is facing all of that. And I think that we should respect that as such, and that we should give a space and give a voice to everyone who is not only working from the engineer aspect of things and on the planning, but also keeping up with their payments, who is doing small contributions like getting food to the workers, carrying materials to the project site. All of those people is we want those voices because they are part of this enterprise, and that is what we do at Energy Action Partners. I was lucky to be able to find an organization like this. Can I share just a couple slides to give a current sense of what we're using? Thank you. And Energy Action Partners, we have been developing this tool called COMET, that is called the Community Energy Toolkit. And how this works is a mini grid simulator that you can interact with through tablets or through a computer, and it lets you buy and sell appliances. And during the workshop, you start a simulation, and as a participant, you basically turn appliances on and off and pay your tariffs. And what happens behind the curtains is that the system aggregates all of that information and allows the operator, which is also part of the workshop, to see what would be the system like if people were doing that in real life. And at the same time shows participants what would be the fees, what would be their load profile, what would be the cost, if they ever reach system limits, if they ever reach an overload. And it's a very interactive way of giving people the opportunity to interact with these very complex systems that are mini grids, without necessarily having to go through the real world investment of doing that. And of course, there are many advantages to this, but the first of all is that it allows people to organize. It allows them to coordinate and to agree on what is best for the system, what is best for them, and reconciling and reaching an equilibrium between what you want as an individual, what you want as household head, and what you want as part of a community. And at the same time, for operators, it gives them the chance to interact directly with the people, with the community, to have a very good idea of what demand is going to be like, much better than just a simple survey, because you're just asking people, what do you want? You're looking at them getting what they want in real life. And you're having the chance to have these very rich engagements that build long-term relations, which is also one of the beauties of microhydro, that it is based on this very strong relations between people, between communities. And thank you. In our module, we're taking this focus of seeing demand as a very complex phenomenon, as a very a problem that has many sides, a situation that has many faces, and we're trying to give you the tools so that you can know where all of those faces are, and how you can interact with them, and how you can make sense of them, so you can build a system that responds to all of that situations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that introduction to a very important element of community hydro. And yeah, so now I would like to introduce our very own Dipti Vagela from HPNET, who is our instructor for the first two modules of the training. So Ms. Vagela is the network facilitator and manager of HPNET, which she helped to establish in 2013. Dipti is a mechanical engineer committed to advancing technology that benefits marginalized communities and ecosystems. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of California, Berkeley, and an MSc in Environmental Studies from San Jose State University. Okay, so I'll pass it over to you, Dipti.
Yeah, thank you, Lara, and thank you to all the previous speakers on this panel. I've given you an overview of the first two modules in my introduction to this event. And the only thing I would like to add is that although I'm the designated instructor, we actually engaged our board, who have many decades of experience collectively, and persons like Mark on these modules. And so you will see case studies from various countries within those modules, and we couldn't have developed them without their inputs. And we continue to learn from those senior practitioners. So yeah, with that, I would like to close here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much to all of the instructors for the helpful introductions, and also for your efforts to create very rich and informative training materials. So now we're going to introduce the e-learning platform, and also two key means by which you can ask questions as we go along through the course. So first, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of our e-learning platform. And please note that this information is also detailed in the orientation note that you received via email, so you can always refer back there if needed. But just to orient everyone, sorry, just one moment, and thank you for your patience with the screen sharing. Okay, so the first step will be to go to seedlearning.org, and that is seed with 3 E's. All right, and to log in, everyone has already been registered, all the registered participants. So to log in, you will use your email with which you registered for the course, and a default password, which is 12345678. And that's the same for everyone. And then, of course, it will be good to reset that password to something more secure that you can remember. So to do that, you will go to your profile by clicking this button here. And you can set your name here and reset your password quite easily. Okay, and then to get started, you can click this button to go to the course. And so if you click here, you will see a description and an overview of the curriculum of the full training. So if you click here, you can see all of the sections of Module A. So as I mentioned, right now you will just see Module A, and you'll see the others as they begin throughout the course. So yeah, so to get started, you can click Start Course. And so you'll start with this introductory video here to get started. And after you complete each section, you should click complete at the bottom of the screen. And this will log your progress as you work through the module. And you can navigate to the next section at the bottom here. There's also another option, which is to click this button, blue button on the top left, to quickly navigate to any section in the module. So it's quite straightforward, we hope, and you can always refer back to the orientation note, as we mentioned. So I'll switch back to our slides here. And then we will get into ways that you can ask questions and engage with others. So we've created a tool, a question tracker tool, which was also in the orientation note. There's a link that you can use to access this, and essentially everyone can edit. Everyone can enter questions according to different categories. So course logistics, and then there's a separate section for each module. You can also respond to others if you wish, so we can learn from each other as we go along. Yeah, so this is just designed to track all of the questions, and you can also see if other people have asked questions that you may also have. And we will try to respond to questions about course logistics as soon as possible. And content-related questions will be addressed by instructors in the weekly Q&A sessions, and then we will subsequently update the document here. And so that brings us to the weekly Q&A. So each Monday, we will host an optional live session via Zoom to answer any questions about the module that we focused on in the previous week. So including questions that anyone puts in the question tracker tool, and any other questions you may wish to bring to the session. And in these sessions, the instructors will also provide an overview of the next module. So yes, for example, next Monday, the Q&A will address any questions from Module A, which you have access to starting now. So, and we will introduce Module B next Monday. So these Zoom sessions will be recorded and made available to all participants in case you're unable to attend, but they will be at the same time as this session was today. And it will be with the same Zoom link as this session, which is also in the orientation note. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to pass it back to Dipti.
Larry, you can keep screen sharing. That's okay.
Okay, yeah.
Or, yeah, basically, if you have any questions on what has been presented of the e-learning platform, please feel free to ask now, and we can try to answer them here. And also, we have a few minutes, so if we don't get to them, we will definitely answer them after the event through the tracker. Yeah, the platform is pretty straightforward, but yeah. And if you have questions later too, you can enter them in the tracker. The link to it is in your orientation note. Okay, so yes, We have a question from Jonah about reading materials available for each module. Yes, at the end of the module clips, there's supplementary material that includes links to other resources that can help with that topic. So there will be supplementary material for each clip of the module. And yeah, so Pushpati is asking about the 1/3 MHPs in Nepal functioning. Yeah, that source comes from members who have contributed that data, but I can write to you separately about where the source is from. So, and then John is asking, is there going to be exams? Yes, there are quizzes for each module. Actually, for each clip of the module, there are quizzes that you would go through. And once you complete a clip, once you click complete and hit the arrow as Lara was showing, the quiz will come up, and we will monitor your progress on the quizzes. And once you go through all of these modules and quizzes, we will also be issuing a certificate at the end. Yeah, these are great questions. Thank you. Yeah, if there's anything else. Yeah, so Mr. Hastings from Malawi is asking if there will be any manufacturers training. And this is something we definitely are actively looking for resources to do. There is some things we can do online, but it would be best to have face-to-face training, and we have various members asking, especially for cross-flow and Pelton turbines, local practitioners. So we are working on this, and thank you for your interest. And then we have only 4 studies conducted in Nepal so far. Oh yeah, we would love to learn more, Pushpatiji. So I look very forward to being in touch with you on the studies you've conducted. All right. Each session on Monday will be similar to today. It will be an hour and a half long, and it will be at the same time using the same link. Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think I haven't missed any questions. And yeah, we really appreciate everyone's presence in joining, both speakers and participants. And we very much appreciate your commitment to this 6-week training. It's an introduction, but we are looking forward to future trainings that have also advanced levels of knowledge for each topic. And I would like to just thank our team that's been involved. Yeah, thank you, Laura. I forgot I was not changing the slides. Yes, and there's one more question I can still answer. Sure, we can send a reminder email regarding the live session. Yeah, we have an amazing team of people that are behind this effort, and we really cannot do it without all of these persons, and we thank you for your time and interest in the sector and promoting community scale hydropower. So with that, we will end this session, and we look forward to seeing you next week at the same time. Oh, and last but not least, if you are new to the network, I recommend this short 4-minute video. It gives a visual image of what we are trying to promote. Yeah, you can find it most easily on our Twitter page. HPNET Hydro is the handle. All right, and then you can also find more information on our website at hpnet.org. Thanks very much. We look forward to seeing you next week.